Hey everybody, Mega Ruler 31 here, back for FSIDFS. I'm joined with McKinley, and we're actually going to do a preview show for those of you who want to do some sports betting. So we are going to share our thoughts on who we think we're going to win divisions and make the playoffs and World Series, and maybe get into some Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. So we also recorded a preview for the first slate, which is tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday night. It's going to start on 4/7. So baseball is back and we're ready to go. So get ready for the grind, because they say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we're going to buckle up from now until probably the end of October before we find the championship. So, hey, McKinley, are you ready for this?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay. So.
Oh, malfunction already.
Yeah, AL East. I just got to remember it's not PowerPoint.
Yeah, so AL East, current favorite to win the AL East, and I kind of agree with it. It's going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. They added a couple of pieces to their pitching staff, and then just their lineup is unreal. As far as their pitching staff goes, they got Berrios last season. They just brought in Kevin Gossman, and they already have, Ryu, Manoah, and then they got Kikuchi there now as well. I mean, it's arguably one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball. And like I said, their bats are just unreal. They have the power, they have the stolen base upside. They got 5 tool players all over the place. So Toronto, division winner, is most likely. But I think if we're going to do like a futures play, I like the Tampa Bay Rays. And I'm not the only one that likes Tampa Bay here. They seem to be the kind of hot pick in the futures market for division. They're currently plus 320 on the money line, or sorry, plus 320 on Draftkings at the moment. They've been AL East champs, back-to-back years. So are they going to three-peat? It remains to be seen. This is a very tough division. Toronto, Tampa Bay, Boston, the Yankees. I'm not even going to include the Orioles, but it's a loaded division for sure. People kind of forget that this Tampa Bay team, they scored the second most runs in the entire major league last season. So it's an offense that definitely has some pop to it. And what's this franchise known for? They're just kind of known for getting the job done. They're known for, taking these no-name guys and just making them just incredible major league players who can go out, challenge for a World Series, take division titles on just limited payroll, limited salary. So I think if you're going to be going for a betting play, I would be going with Tampa Bay as a division winner here. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that Toronto is going to win this, but I think you have such a strong division that I would not be surprised if all 4 out of 5 teams make it into the playoffs. Now, the playoffs have expanded this year, and you're going to have so you're going to have 6 teams from each division. So I definitely think that Toronto's going to win the division, but I think that just because it's such a grinding division, that they're going to be probably the 3rd seed potentially coming out of it. I think that the West and the Central will have better records. And then I think, Tampa Bay and Boston will probably end up playing each other in the first wild card game. And then I think the Yankees will just sneak in. They just seem to have so many like injuries. I'm a Yankees fan, but the pitching is just still questionable. And it's just, I think they grind each other down and they all make it in, because you have some really, really bad teams in the rest of the American League. So that's what I'd say. So I think, I like your Tampa Bay pick, and I think Toronto is definitely going to win the league. So ready to move on to the next division?
Yep.
So now we're the AL Central.
Yeah, this one I think is pretty clear cut. Chicago White Sox are clearly the best team in this division. After them, it's kind of like murky. Detroit, Cleveland, Minnesota. I mean, the three of them kind of made some, well, quite a bit of moves, but it's kind of tough to kind of get a gauge on how each of those teams are going to fare. I don't think any of them are better than Chicago at all. And then same with Kansas City. You know, they got some young guys coming on up, guys like Bobby Witt Jr. But I mean, I don't think they're going to be challenging the White Sox at all. I think they're pretty safe. You know, their bats are just incredible. Anderson, Robert, Moncada, Jimenez, Abreu, Grandal. The list just goes on and on and on. Their lineup is stacked. Then in terms of pitching, you know, you got Lynn, Cease, Giolito. There's a very solid 1, 2, 3 in a pretty weak division. So I think they're going to kind of beat up on their division foes pretty easily here. They're 195 to win the division in the futures. I don't really love that all by itself, but I don't mind parlaying it with another division future bet. We'll get to that later on, though. So minus 195, I'd kind of parlay it with another division winner, maybe get some plus money there. Do you see any team other than Chicago winning this division?
No, I absolutely agree with you. And I think that, like I said, I think all the wild card teams are going to come out of the AL East. And I did kind of like a composite scoring of like ranking the teams by tiers. The AL East had a composite of 3.4. The AL Central, as I look at it, is the third worst division out there. I think the worst division is definitely going to be the NL Central. And then I think the AL West is going to be second just by a little bit more. They're 5.4. This one's 5.2. So they're very, very close. So I think you're right. I think it's Chicago, White Sox. And I think, you know, I don't really see anybody else. Really, Minnesota did add some players to their roster, but still, I just don't see them overcoming the White Sox. Detroit's still too young. Cleveland's taken a step backwards, and Kansas City is starting fresh pretty much. You know, they've got a blend of some people, but they're starting to rebuild from their successful years in the past. So definitely Chicago. AL West.
The AL West.
Yep.
I think division winner. Just kind of listening around, kind of gauging everything. Seems like Houston is pretty much the pick. I think they're the odds-on favorite at the moment to win the AL West. Other teams there, I mean, Oakland and Texas. Texas made some major money plays, but I still don't think, you know, they're going to be competing at all. The Angels, can they remain healthy? It remains to be seen. They haven't had a healthy season in a decade or more. I don't even know.
Besides
but,
Ohtani,
you know,
like who's on their pitching staff that we really?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why the Angels are not here. But I still think Houston can still win this division. They did lose Correa, so that kind of does hit them a little bit in the middle of the lineup. But I mean, their 1 through 6 is still very, very strong with everybody. The bats are still incredible. They're also getting Justin Verlander back. He is coming off of Tommy John surgery. He is approaching 40 years old. So there is a little hesitation.
He is still married to Kate Upton.
There you go. Maybe he gets distracted. Who knows? But I mean, they still got Valdez, Urquidy. They got a good pitching staff to go around them. So still think Houston can win this division. But as far as the futures play goes, I love Seattle at plus 450. This might be my favorite futures play in terms of like division winners in the league. Oh, there you go. You're wearing the Mariners shirt now. I love it. It's like you knew. I don't think you did though.
It's just the first one I found in my drawer. I have multiple teams because you never who cheered for you any given night of DFS. So, but
there you go.
I agree. Like it's a good young team. They have a very exciting rookie on their team that did really well in spring training, and you know young team is starting to come together. So if the pitching can hold up, and the rest of the division, like you said, like Oakland is going to be a doormat. They are going to, they have their payroll is like, there's probably a player on the Dodgers that makes twice as much as the whole Oakland team.
I want to say I saw something like that. Like Max Scherzer makes more money than the entire insert like Baltimore or Pittsburgh or some Oakland's into this lineup. But yeah, Seattle. I think they're fantastic. Like you said, they got a lot of young guys coming up, but they also added a bunch of guys from Cincinnati. Winker and Suarez. They still got Haniger there. They added Robbie Ray to their pitching staff. Last season, Seattle only finished 5 games behind Houston. That's it. And that was with Marco Gonzalez as their, SP1. They're starting their ace. So now adding, those bats to the middle of the lineup, which was already, a fairly decent offense, adding Robbie Ray on the front end there, at plus 450, I think that's fantastic value for here.
Okay. Oh, commercial break.
Do you want to do this or me?
Hey, it's basically, here's what our core sheet looks like for you. If you subscribe to FSIDFS, we're going to give you a cash lineup. Now, of course, obviously we can't give you the full lineup. So we usually give like maybe 4 blanks in it. We'll usually leave like 1 outfield spot open. If we feel very strongly on 2 pitchers, we'll give you both pitchers. If not, we'll give you the top 1. I usually leave catcher out because that's sometimes just a punt situation anyways. But so you get a cash on GPP line for the main slate. We will cover early slates if there's like 4 more games on them. But we also go and we'll cover the showdown slate. So you get 3. We don't tell you who to play at captain. Most of our players know that if we recommend a pitcher, like there's the most floor there, so they're probably the one that we're looking at, and we'll give you some notes on, are the pitchers viable, or sometimes there's games where the pitchers are horrible or like, it's Coors Field or the wind's blowing out at 45 miles per hour in Chicago or something. So we would advise no hitters or no pitchers in that game. And then we're going to rack the pitchers for you. So we're going to try to give you some options of high end pitchers, medium pitchers, cheap ones, and then who's our fades. And also we'll look at stacks. So, who are the top stacks that we're looking for the day? Who do we think would be good in a GPP? If one variable breaks right, this stack could go off. Who's a really cheap stack that if you're trying to get the Dodgers in, that you can, in a top pitcher, like who's in a good situation that could be a good value for you. And then maybe some leverage ones, like especially on a larger slate when we know all the people are probably going to gravitate towards these. And, who's that stack out there that you could probably maybe throw in and it's going to have low ownership. And if it goes off, then you win all the money. Anything to add, McKinley?
No, that was fantastic. FSIDFS, come join us. Love to have you.
Okay. National League.
All right, National League Central. Division winner, we're going to go with the Braves. I fully admit I made these slides prior to the DeGrom injury. That's going to be sidelining him for at least a month, I think they said. It looks like Scherzer, he's only gonna miss a day, but Scherzer, who knows what's going on with him. But yeah, I still think, Atlanta, they're, former World Series champions. They did lose Freddie Freeman. That was kind of big, but he was replaced by Olsen, who I think is just gonna fill in without issue. And they even kind of added to their pitching staff. They don't really have a true ace, but they have a lot of guys that can just get the job done. With Morton and Fried and, a fantastic bullpen. But they kind of even added to that. So I think Braves could arguably be even a better team than they were last season when they won the World Series. But I didn't like where they were in terms of value on the futures. So I like Mets plus 200. Like I said, they got Scherzer, they got DeGrom. And And then I just like the bats there. They added Starling Marte, Canha. They already have Nemo, Alonso, JD Davis, Eduardo Escobar, just a whole bunch of guys straight through that lineup who I think can do some damage. So this is probably my like least favorite division to be targeting right now. But if I was going to it, I'd probably be going to the Mets. The Phillies, I think, could be really intriguing. The bats are there. You know, they added Kyle Schwarber, obviously Bryce Harper and everything. So they could be intriguing with their bats. Aaron Nola pitching. But I don't know. I don't know. If you want to go super crazy, go Philly. If you want to go downright insane, go Miami, because I think they could be good this season. But obviously it would need a complete downfall from Atlanta, and just continued DeGrom and Scherzer injuries from the Mets for any of that to happen.
And I think I'm in agreement with you there. The Braves definitely win it. The Mets, I don't know if they can stay healthy. I have this rated as the second hardest division. Like I said, I had a 3.4 composite for the AL East. This one is a 4. So yeah. I think Philly's definitely going to come on. I think, Joe Girardi's under a lot of pressure. This is the year that these guys really need to start performing. Washington has definitely slid way down. Like they won the World Series a couple years ago, and it's all but a memory.
Not even on the radar.
Yeah, and Florida, I think, still has like, don't they win like World Series with like every 20 years that end in the 7 or something? Was it like 97?
Well, they won in 97, and then they won in.
Was it 2007?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, not 2000.
Okay. But yeah, I think they're a few years off from their 20-year run or whatever they go on. Yeah, so I think the Braves are going to make it. And I think the Phillies will make the playoffs too as a wild card team. I don't think the Mets will. I think that they'll do well this year, but I think injuries just continue to hamper them. Okay, so moving on to the NL Central, the by far weakest division in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, this one's pretty ugly. I think this one's also pretty straightforward. And Milwaukee's just going to be taking it. The only team that I can see competing with Milwaukee is going to be the Cardinals, and that's it. But I'm still pretty confident with Milwaukee taking the division and at minus 165. This is the team that I was talking about parlaying with the Chicago White Sox. If you do parlay Milwaukee and the Chicago White Sox, you end up at plus 142. So I think that's just great value for two teams that I'm very confident in winning their division. Just looking at the pitching staff for Milwaukee, Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta. That is probably the scariest 1, 2, 3 in the league. I know we talked about the Mets having DeGrom and Scherzer, but third option, I still think Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta is probably scarier. And then after those guys are done with their 6, 7 innings or whatever they do, you got one of the best bullpen in the majors, cemented with Hader there at the end. So, this pitching staff is unreal. The bats, you got Yelich. They added Hunter Renfroe, Navarez. We were a big fan of him in DFS last season. Andrew McCutchen, can he find the magic and get the bat back again this season? That remains to be seen. But this pitching staff going against this division, I think they're just gonna run away with it. And like I said, St. Louis is probably the only team that can contend with them, but I just don't see it happening.
I actually really like St. Louis. I think they're going to win this division, and they're the type of team that I'm going to put a $5 bet at 3,000 to 1 on them to win the World Series, because they just seem like a team that can just put together a run and do it. And how many years have we seen a team get hot at the end of the year? And it's not, I think, what we figured out, I think we talked about this last year on a video. In the last 20 years, I think maybe even 25 years, like the 98 Yankees, and there was a Red Sox team, every other, and I think there was another team also out there, but it was only like 3 or 4 times in like the last 25 years that the team with the best record in baseball that everyone would have statistically considered the best team in baseball actually won the World Series. Look at all those years San Francisco won it. Look at the year Kansas City won it. Even when Houston won it the first time, they weren't the best team. And St. Louis strikes me as one of these teams that, and even Atlanta last year wasn't the best team in baseball, I would say, at all. They were just able to grind it out, win the games they had to, and just kept on putting together solid performances until they had the ring.
Yeah, that's exactly what St. Louis did last year. I mean, remember they went on what? It was like a 17-game win streak to sneak into the playoffs. They can definitely go on a run, but you can also look at it the other way. They needed a 17-game win streak to make it to the playoffs.
Was it 2020? Was it St. Louis when they went down to Florida? They all went to like strip clubs or something. They all got COVID, and then they like missed a ton of games. That was St. Louis, wasn't it?
I can't remember, but that's 2 years ago.
But I think they learned. But I think that was kind of the turning point because everybody's down on them, and I think over like the last like the shortened 2020 season and like last year, I think they've really come together as a team.
Yeah, I can see it. How old is Adam Wainwright? What do you think? He can't be lasting too much longer here, right?
7, I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, wrapping it up.
But St. Louis is another team that could make a big move and grab, somebody from like the Marlins or someplace, like that on the trade deadline just to get them across the finish line. So we'll see.
All right. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. You versus me. I think Milwaukee's just going to run away.
Okay.
I like it. We'll write it down.
Okay.
All right. Final division, NL West. Division winner. I think this one's pretty unanimous among every person that pays attention to baseball right now. And that's the LA Dodgers to win it. They don't have Corey Seager anymore. Obviously, Scherzer's not there. But they did add Freddie Freeman. They just picked up Kimbrel to add to their bullpen. I know he hasn't been what he has been in the past, but still, on paper, this team is the best team in baseball, hands down. Can they put it all together? Can they remain healthy? Obviously, those are things that just need to be seen. But on paper, this team is absolutely elite. But as far as a futures play, San Francisco plus 600. So you're getting some pretty decent value on them here. They did add to their pitching staff. They went out and got Rodon. I remember him on the White Sox last season. He was pitching phenomenal. And then after Rodon, they got Webb and then DeSclafani, Wood, and Cobb. I mean, that's not a no-name starting 5 rotation at all. So, I mean, San Francisco, are they going to have the bats that they had last year? Crawford just kind of found this like magical whatever. And
Buster Posey too.
Insane. Buster Posey, can Brandon Belt get back to his home runs? I mean, you got Jock Peterson and Yastrzemski. So they have the guys that could do it and have shown us that they can do it. But once again, this LA Dodgers team is just insane. There's a reason that San Francisco's plus 600. But if I was to go look for some value hunting, I'd probably go with San Francisco to take this division. Yeah. I still think LA wins it. That's what I'm just saying. I think LA, yeah.
Okay, so I think that sets it up. So as I look up my playoff picture, I think in the American League, Chicago has the number 1 seed. Houston has the number 2 seed. Toronto would be 3rd. Wild cards would be Tampa Bay, Boston, and New York. As I look at the National League, the Dodgers, you say Milwaukee, I say St. Louis. I think Atlanta wins the East, but I think they have the 3rd I think they fall behind the West and the Central just because it's such a tough division. I think that, between
Yep.
having to play like Philly and the Mets, it wears them down a little bit, so they don't have as an inflated record. Like the Dodgers are probably going to win 100 games, and Milwaukee or St. Louis, whoever wins the Central, is going to probably win like 85, 90 games. I think the Atlanta doesn't win as many, and they come in the third place. And then I think San Francisco gets the wild card, and I think Philly gets the wild card.
Yeah. Sounds about right. I would agree with you. Yeah, with you on pretty much everything.
So who's your World Series matchup then?
I don't want to say Toronto versus the Dodgers because I have a feeling that's what everybody is saying. So if I didn't go Toronto versus the Dodgers, I would go. Man, I just like Toronto so much. I would go. Okay, we'll go. Great. We'll go Chicago White Sox against. I don't want to say Milwaukee. We'll go with the Mets and see if they can stay healthy. We'll go with the White Sox versus the Mets if they can stay healthy. If they get DeGrom to the playoffs and Scherzer in the playoffs healthy with a healthy lineup, could be interesting. Because I mean, that's kind of like the one thing that the Dodgers are kind of like iffy on. It's the depth of their starting rotation. I mean, obviously they got Bueller, and they got some studs there for sure. Your Urias and everything. But on the back end, it's not as strong as I would say like a Toronto's depth is, or even Milwaukee.
Okay. I agree with you 100%. I have Chicago winning the World Series, the White Sox. I think that this is their year. I think
Fantastic
they have
team.
the easiest division. I think they get the number one seed in the playoff. So I mean, they'd have a tough matchup. I think it'd be Tampa Bay or Boston that they'd have to beat in the second round because they'd be the wild card. But that puts like Houston in the bracket with Toronto, and then they just have to beat one of those teams to make the World Series. And like you said, they've improved a lot, and I think St. Louis, like I really like them. I think that the Dodgers, they just fall apart they win 100 games every single year.
Yep.
They just can't get it done. They're almost like the Atlanta Braves of the 90s, where they had like Glavine and Smoltz and Maddox and they had a really good team, but they have one World Series to show for it.
Yeah. I said it earlier. On paper, the Dodgers are bar none the best team in baseball, but can they get over that hump?
Yeah.
I mean, they just won the World Series, 2 years ago?
Right.
2020. So
right. So just
that season didn't exist, in my opinion. Right. 2020, just throw it out.
Yeah, the Lakers also won the NBA title, and look where they are now. So I mean, it's just
throw it out. 2020 did not exist in the sports world. I don't care who won the championships that year; it was all fluke.
Yeah. So just looking at some other futures out there for Cy Young in the AL. Talk about the White Sox. I really like Gio Gonzalez. And then I think a sleeper might be Syndergaard in the AL. He moved from the Mets.
What's his price at?
Let me see. Player future.
Man, like looking back, like that Mets starting rotation years ago was insane. Like,
yeah, it just
with Syndergaard and Wheeler, and Wheeler's gone now, and Syndergaard's gone. But like, oh man, remember like Matt Harvey when he first came up? Like, the Mets pitching staff was wild back then.
I'm reading my notes wrong. I meant Lucas Giolito. Gio Gonzalez is not winning the Cy Young.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know what you.
No, Lucas Giolito is 1,000 to 1. So I
don't mind him.
Yeah, I like that. And then Syndergaard is 4,500 to 1. I think You know, you're looking at like, who's the not only the best pitcher, but like, who could help like carry their teams to success.
Yeah.
In the NL, I like Max. I think, on the Mets, and he's the obvious favorite. Um, here's
You can't take DeGrom,
no,
right?
I'm not taking DeGrom, but here's a
Like you
speculation.
can't. He's just constantly injured. Yeah.
Right. And he was favored like a couple weeks ago. Now he's plus 12 that or plus 1200. So okay, but here's what's going to happen. Okay, this guy is an outstanding pitcher on the road, and he's probably the best pitcher on his team in the NL. And I think this is the year that he's one of the ones that gets traded to a contender right before the trade deadline. And he goes on and he has a great August and September, and he potentially could win the Cy Young. Who am I talking about?
Sandy Alcantara.
No, German Marquez.
Oh man.
Marquez on
Okay.
Colorado.
Yep, Colorado. I was gonna say he's been hampering with that Coors Field. He's actually not too terrible at home, but yeah, I see. I remember what you were talking about.
He's a plus
Yep.
800 or 8,000. I mean, I could put a buck on him and win $800 if he wins the Cy Young. I mean, we're not talking about putting a ton of cash on here. I'm probably going to drop $1 on some of these like high ones, and then at the end of the season, But you know what? I did have Alcantara listed as one of the ones that I was looking at too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He doesn't get enough credit. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit at all. And who was the other guy for Miami last season? The rookie.
Oh, I don't see him on here though. That's
tip of my tongue. I can't.
Is it Pablo Lopez or?
I think so. No. Wasn't I can't even remember. It's getting late.
Yeah, but Alcantara is 1,600, and that's not a bad bet there.
He's got a brutal division though.
True. So MVP,
like he's not playing Pittsburgh. He's not playing Cincinnati. He's got to go up against that Atlanta offense and that Mets offense and that Phillies offense constantly.
So MVP and AL, you have like Ohtani, Trout, and Guerrero as some of the top picks, and I think any of those might definitely be good plays. But the person that I looked at, and you said that you really kind of liked Tampa Bay, and this guy was, I believe, maybe he was like had a very strong playoffs in his rookie years. Randy Arozarena. He's plus 6,000. And, I'm just looking like some of these other teams, you have like so many like the Yankees and the Red Sox, like you have so many good players. Like, I think they kind of get overlooked for MVP because you have so many good players, like not one like stands out. But I think Arozarena could on this Tampa Bay team really assert himself as maybe like the leader. And I believe it's his third year of baseball, and at plus 6,000, I think that's definitely a bet I'd like to take.
I don't mind it.
Looking at the NL, Albies might be one to look at too. I know Acuna is coming back. They lost Freeman on that team. They're World Series champion, but they're going to need somebody to kind of step up and take leadership. I think that he's one to look at too. And again, if we're looking at somebody that's going to have really good statistics for the year, I think this guy is going to be very inflated because he got traded to Coors Field. But what about Chris Bryant? Could potentially be the best player on the Colorado Rockies. And if it looks like, he's just having a smash season just because of the park that he's in now, might be something to look at too.
Yeah, for sure. What was Colorado thinking? They're idiots. I mean, like, let's get rid of Arenado because of this massive contract that we locked ourselves into, and then you know what? Let's just go out the next offseason and replace him with the exact same guy with the same contract. I doesn't get it.
I do think Trevor Story is going to be a bust in Boston, though. I think he's going to be probably one of the biggest busts, and I think he was really aided by Coors Field, but
Oh yeah.
he so many times got put on my do not never play again list just because of just letting me down.
Yep. Yep. For sure.
So just a couple thoughts too. Rookie of the year. There's one person that really sticks out to me because this guy was highly touted last year. He came up for a little bit, but he actually qualifies as a rookie this year in the American League, and he got traded from the National League. Anybody want to take a guess?
Is it the guy on Pittsburgh?
No, he was on the Braves and he went to Oakland in the trade.
Oh, I don't know.
Christian Pache. He came up, I think he had like a home run in his like first game. Like he was like, everybody's so excited. He was minimum price on DK for his first game, and then the next game he was like 4K or something. So he jumped up there, but I really like him. I know the sexy pick's going to be Bobby Witt Jr. Torkelson for Detroit's going to get some everyday playing time. Also, Julio Rodriguez had a really good spring, and Seattle's really high on him. I don't know if many of the rest of these guys are going to get everyday playing time. Jose Siri is here also at 5,500, the same as Pache. He was on, I think he's still on Houston.
Houston.
Yeah,
he still qualifies.
But he doesn't get everyday playing time. But Pache should on this A's lineup, and like we said, they pretty much gutted that team. So he's somebody that could really show up and really make a name for himself. So I love Pache. I think he's one of my favorite future bets in all of these future bets.
There you go, plus 5,000.
And then just looking at the National League, Suzuki's obviously the number one choice there. But you also have CJ Abrams, who's good. Joey Bart is probably going to catch most of the games for San Francisco. So, yeah, he could be a starter. And then Sixto Sanchez is another one that should get everyday playing time. And that's what I'm kind of looking at when I'm looking at some of these. Although I do see Mickey,
the guys who are going to play every day.
Yeah, Mickey Monick. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get for Philly, but he had an absolute fire spring training. So he's at 5,500 too in the NL. So that's somebody else I'll look at. So, but yeah, so I'm probably just going to throw like a Buckeye or so on some of these guys. Just because, hey, if they hit, it could be a couple $100. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I think this is kind of fun doing this breakdown, and hopefully it helped you. So, who are your thoughts? Do you have any hot takes on who's going to win divisions, or who's going to win the World Series, or any of the other player awards like Cy Young, MVP, Rookie of the Year? So drop them in the comments below, and maybe we'll look back at the end of the season and see who was right. So if you want to learn more about FSIDFS, you really want to help this season with baseball, like we just had a really good season last year. We had some takedowns, some good successes, and McKinley and I have been studying spring training. We played every slate, the day slate and the afternoon slate, some of the showdowns. So we've been seeing who's hot and who's the different trends of the different lineups going on there. So we're ready for this, and we're ready to help you out. So if you want more information on FSIDFS, just check out the information below in the description, and it will have you link to our website, link to our Discord, and other valuable information. So any final words, McKinley, before we throw out the first pitch?
Nope. Let's get it going.
Yep. So we're ready. We're in it to win it here, and we're going to be locked in from April until the final pitch is thrown in November. So come along with us for the ride. Look for our videos on our channel. Subscribe so you know when they're coming. And thank you again for watching, and good luck this season.